I wanted to start a quick conversation with regard to long-term care costs. It does tie in great. It does tie into longevity risk. Sorry about that. And so I wanted to share this visual that I found, which I think is a pretty good one. And I think when I look at the other data out there, um, it is consistent with other data that I've seen. And so I think the costs are pretty good, right? So when you think about nursing home costs, and you think about those costs, they're pretty substantial. We're talking north of $100,000 a year for nursing home cost. If you're going to be have some need of sort of adult daycare, uh, that's more manageable. We consider you sort of an at-home person, but you're able to go somewhere during the day and have some activities there to do, right? Home care providers, these are pretty normal costs. And then assisted living, is a little bit less than nursing homes, but you have to remember that you're not getting any skilled nursing care, right? It's very common for people to be very surprised when they get to an assisted living facility that they don't have people that are going to do, regular nursing type things, monitor certain medications that you're on or provide certain medical support, right? You often have to leave the assisted living facility and go somewhere else to get those things, right? And so that's typically a surprise for people, but I kind of wanted to cover that. So you look at these costs and you can see a pretty stark divide between the maximum amount you're going to get from Social Security, which, if you waited to 70 and you were able to get north of $4,000 a month, um, you would, given that, you let your Social Security get the extra 24%, then you would see that, you have a big gap here, right? I mean, that could be, and that's only for the top earners. I'm talking maybe $50,000. Maybe you get up to $50,000 a year or close to that, right? So, as you can kind of go through these options, you see that that's not going to cover your nursing homes, right? You're going to be left with a big gap there. For adult daycare, you could, but what are you going to live on, right? And so you got to think a little bit about that, because you're not going to have much left after that. Home health care providers are going to eat up that amount pretty quickly. And assisted living is going to eat up that amount. Um, it's basically going to be a little bit more than you would be able to pay, right? So, you got to think about your options there. And as you get older, you do need more support. So, I have talked about some vehicles in the past that I think you should, if you're not retired yet and you're not on Social Security yet, not on Medicare yet, I mean, I highly recommend taking a look at health savings accounts. Um, they give you money into the future that you can just spend um, throughout your retirement age and throughout your Medicare age. And if you were smart about it and you put money in early, that money grew pretty quickly, just like your 401k or your IRA, right? So if you don't have any of those things, and you are not, um, cash rich, uh, you're going to probably be looking at Medicaid, right? Medicaid will pick up the cost of these things, but there are some rules. The rules are that you can't have more than $2,000 in assets, right? And uh, you and if you do, you're gonna have to use those assets first. They're gonna basically require you to use those assets first to pay for these items or these services. And you're going to have to do that first. And then Medicaid will kick in when you've consumed that. So a lot of people ask me, well, what about my house? Your house is protected while you're living in it. So if you're in adult daycare or you're in a home care provider situation, you can rest assured that your house will not be taken from you or will not be sold to pay for this. If you are living alone, or if you don't have a partner and you are and you go into a nursing home or assisted living facility, your house will be fine while you're living, but once you've passed, they will want to sell that house and recoup any expenses that they can recoup from that. All right, so that brings up the last topic, which is, if you want to protect your assets and you want to ensure that, they pass to the next generation, you most likely are going to need to get an attorney and think about a trust, right? Because a trust takes the assets away from you and puts them elsewhere, right? And I can certainly give you lots of recommendations in that space. It's not something I do, but it's something that I have a number of connections who work in this space. So so in that case, but there is a 5-year look back. So it's not something you can do overnight. It's something that requires a lot of planning. But in the case where you do put it in trust, Medicaid will pick up the cost as long as it's been in trust for 5 years. Medicaid will pick up these costs, and they'll be funded through the Medicaid program. So it's good to know what's out there. If you have any questions about Medicaid, about trusts, about different kinds of insurance products that could help, long-term care insurance is another option. And like I said, health savings accounts are a great option as well. So any questions, feel free to reach out anytime. And I appreciate it. Thanks.